a rather challenging experience. Minister, you'd want to comment a bit first and tell us how difficult this has been in terms of having to make several adjustments to this world pandemic.
I had this question asked to me just about an hour ago. It has been a major challenge, Pastor Worm. And what I think is after 2 years, looking back at the challenge it has been, is the growth that has taken place. The changes, the developments, the progress, the things that you have been able to achieve during that period that maybe prior to the start of COVID-19, you probably did not anticipate you were able to do in such a short space of time. And so I do acknowledge it has been a significant challenge, but it has been an opportunity, significant opportunity for relooking how we do what we do and finding ways in which we can improve on what we do as well.
Our other two panelists may just want to zero in on this too, in their own individual capacities. PS and, of course, CEO, what has it been like for you over the last 2 years?
Well, I can say, Pastor Worm, it has been indeed a challenge. And as the minister clearly articulated, it also presented opportunities. As the person responsible for the admin aspect of the ministry, it showed that we had to be creative in a number of areas. We had to learn as we go along, as they say, pin the bus as it was moving. But I can testify that the staff at the Ministry of Education did come up, they did shine. Many persons took the challenges and ran with it. They expanded themselves in a number of areas. And we have a well-shined, well-polished team. And if to use a creating term, we have a good team. We have a team that can beat the West Indies because we really, really did what we had to do during that pandemic and sacrifice enough so that the students of Grenada can receive quality education during this pandemic.
And Mrs. Findlay, your thoughts?
Well, good night to members of the team and viewing and listening public. What can I say? It has been a very fluid time. It has been a time of great expectations. It has been a time when we were driven in a direction to think outside of the box. Given the fluidity of the situation, the uncertainties, we had to become creative. And what we have been excited about is the level of creativity that has emerged among co-workers internal to the ministry, as well as persons within the school. And I'm a person that gets very excited with creativity, and I think COVID has really brought out that element in just about all of us. And we found ourselves doing things that we never envisaged, never thought we could have done. And we have seen teachers, we have seen students move in directions that were once thought to be impossible. So COVID has shown us just how possible many of the things we thought were impossible can be. So this has been, yes, trying at times, challenging at times, but ultimately, I think education has been winning in many regards due to the collaboration that is evident among all stakeholders.
You talk about collaboration. Did you have to do any sort of collaborating with some of your counterparts, let's say in the other regional Caribbean territories? Grenada didn't get the harshness of the COVID. I mean, I think it was one of the last countries to really feel the harshness of it. How much collaboration, how much liaising did you have to do with other regional territories to perhaps get a bit of guidance and a bit of enablement to face the pandemic and the challenges in education?
Well, there's a saying, it takes a village to raise a child, but we have gone beyond just a village. We have what is a remarkable partnerships remarkable collaboration at the sub-regional and the regional level through the OECS and also through CARICOM. There has been great networking prior to COVID. And again, due to that great networking that existed prior to COVID, we have been able to now come on board in very remarkable ways to share, learn from each other, and really build and strengthen. There has been a lot of collaboration through various initiatives that are ongoing. And we are really doing well as a region in terms of that level of collaboration to enhance and reduce, mitigate the challenges that exist because of COVID pandemic.
And if I may come in here, I'd like to go to our Minister for Education. Minister, as a parent, I would be very concerned about the loss that this has caused, and with our children not being in school. And what is the ministry's take on? I know you're doing your best, but you, I'm certain, have examined the loss being created as a result of this?
Definitely. And if you listened to my address this morning, you would realize the central theme coming out of that was the importance of stemming the loss. The loss has been significant. It has been a loss experienced by every country throughout the world as it relates to the pandemic and what is happening. And what we have to do is to ensure that we find, as I said this morning, the right balance. Right now, there are persons who feel that for schools to open, you must have zero cases or zero case. And so it's important for us to ensure that we must create or understand that we have to create that balance between education and safety. And so what for us is a priority at this time is keeping school open. We've done well, Odette, as it relates to online learning. We've done extremely well in terms of how we were able to bounce back as it relates to training of our teachers, as it relates to providing of devices, as it relates to providing content, as it relates to connectivity. We have been outstanding in the region in that regard. But as I said again this morning, this cannot permanently substitute face-to-face learning. Some countries are reporting that students are behind as much as 9 months. Some countries are reporting that there are some students that will never be able to catch up based on what they have lost. I've listened to some of my colleagues, and I'm sure we do have cases here, of students who have dropped out from school. I've listened to parents as it relates to the mental effect that this and all that is happening is having on our children, the psychosocial issues as a result of the pandemic. Very often we underplay we underestimate the impact that situations like these do have on children because we think, that only adults are affected in serious ways when we have situations like these. But the reports are coming in from the counselors, the reports are coming from parents. The loss is significant, not just academically, but we are losing our children in so many different ways. And we have to ensure that we strike that balance, having a safe enough environment so that students can return to the classroom to continue their education. Academically, we do have students who perform exceptionally well. You listen to results and you hear of students who would have had 16 subject passes, persons even 19 during this period. That's great, but Odette, we have to zero in on how many students are not being successful during this period, how many students are failing, how many are dropping out, how many are not going to be able to catch up, how many before COVID-19 had serious learning deficiencies and limitations that would affect them for the rest of their school life. So that loss, again, I say, is significant.
And I think Pastor Wom want to come in here with a follow-up.
Yeah, it obviously is a big loss. And Minister, one of the things I would like to ask of you too, we talk about parents, hearing from parents the effects of the pandemic on their children's education. What about the students themselves? Do we have a fair understanding as to how they think, what they feel, their sentiments, their emotions? Is there any way we're able to pick that up and be able to assist in whatever way possible?
Very critical, and of course you have to hear from all stakeholders. And that is why when we were reopening school in the last school term, and we had consultations, I made it my duty to engage with students, to hear directly from them, how is this affecting you? How do you feel about going back to school? And you are absolutely correct. I get it even on my WhatsApp messages. Students, when is school going to be open? I can't deal with this anymore. I have forwarded messages from concerned citizens. One person messaged me quite recently, sending me a photograph of something that was happening in a home, saying, Minister, this is critical. We have to find a way. And I totally agree that we have to find a way to strike that balance. As a matter of fact, we won't be alone. Internationally, various organizations have been advocating. As a matter of fact, UNICEF has put it this way: schools should be the last to close in the pandemic and the first to reopen. They are very concerned about the long-term and the short-term implication. Countries are now reviewing what is going to be the economic implication down the road. How is our economy going to be affected by this loss that we speak about? So yes, some of our students are doing extremely well under the circumstances. The question is, how many of them? But I just want to add this factor, because we've always been concerned about that gap between those who are doing well in terms of their social status, economically and otherwise. We've always talked about ensuring that education is not something that is for the privileged. It must be a right. It must be something that every child must have an equal opportunity to. Now, prior to COVID-19, of course, we know that poverty and other things do impact the quality of education that children can access. Think about how this has worsened the gap that existed before COVID-19. So imagine
Minister,
the parent was able...
Yeah, Minister, sorry to cut you here, but you're outlining those very essential points, but you've said it 3 times, and if we can quickly, because we need to take a commercial break, but I'm really into and intrigued by your train of thought, and I want to go to Mr. Andel just before we take a commercial break. How do we stem the loss? And if we could deal with that in 30 seconds, so we could cross to Mr. Andel for a question and then take a commercial break. How do we stem the loss? Because you seem very connected with the issues there.
Very important. Now, we have to ensure that we appeal to whatever regional organization, international organization that can support us. You would need the technical support, and I'm very pleased to say that we do have the support of the regional and international community. OECS, CARICOM, technical and financial support, that is critical. Providing additional opportunities for students to get additional support is critical, and we are doing that. Providing the training that is necessary for teachers to improve on their skills, also very critical. So all of those efforts combined, the devices we're providing, the ebooks we're providing, all of those are going to complement and support the work that we have done before to improve the opportunity that we have to stem that learning loss. So a lot of work is happening in the background. We call on all concerned parents, communities. This morning I appealed to the religious community. All stakeholders must work with that common objective of stemming the learning loss.
Okay, P.S. Andel, I'm going to come right across to you. Obviously, there must be some very deep technical details that must be put in place and taken into consideration. Just sort of outline to us what are some of these technical details in terms of helping our students to cope and, of course, to ensure that things are done quite effectively?
Yes, indeed, and you're correct. And I just want to go back to what the minister has said and the CEO, that the OECS education unit is working with us and with other member states to help in that. So right now we have the Paul project, and it's a project that is locally implemented, but however is funded through the GPE, the Global Partnership for Education, and the OECS. And this project is looking at, one, how we assess the needs. We must assess the needs of the students, where they are. And in the assessment of that need, how do we address those needs? Now we have the Paul project. But not only addressing the needs, but how do we build the capacity of the teachers as well as parents to help in addressing those needs? So that is why in this term, this year, and for the next 3 years, and that is how long it is, that we are going to address some of these gaps. We are going to address some of the shortcomings caused by COVID-19, but not only these, but also coming up with innovative ways, using the integration of technology to expand and to accelerate learning so that our students can catch up. We are not certain how much that they would regain, but one thing we are sure that they would regain some ground, and we are doing that in collaboration with the OECS, with the Global Partnership for Education, and CARICOM. And they are providing the technical assistance to us and funding, while we have our own grown implementation of those programs and projects.
Excellent programs and projects, and I'm certain you'll delve into those in a more succinct way when we come back after the commercial break. In case you joined us late, this is Beyond the Headlines on Grenada Broadcasting Network. All of our platforms keyed in this evening as always. Our panelists this evening, the Honorable Minister for Education, Mrs. Emmeline Pear, Mr. Kevin Andel, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, and the Chief Education Officer, Mrs. Angela Finley. We'll be back after this commercial break.
Has been another challenging year. Despite those challenges, Hubbard's is committed to serving communities throughout the length and breadth of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique by developing partnership with other corporate bodies and taking initiatives like Live Free for 1 year and Dutch Lady World Milk Day allowed us the opportunity to give back to you, our stakeholders. Hubbard's pledges to ensure that you remain safe with us in 2022, and so we have taken the initiative to upgrade our food fair online store, provide a second online shopping platform for builders' hardware, furniture, appliance and houseware, and paint. Also, we are conducting a major upgrade at the Building Supplies Department in the south of the island. Hubbard's is committed to serving you as we adapt to the times to enhance your shopping convenience and experience in 2022. On behalf of the management and staff, Board of Directors, we want to wish you happy holidays and the best wishes for the new year.
You're already ill and have no time or energy to walk every which way to access your healthcare needs. So come to Spice Isle Imaging on the Caranage for a one-spot stop for all your health service needs. See our in-house doctor and get your meds from the pharmacy right on location. Digital X-ray, MRI, CT scans, mammography, ultrasound and laboratory services are also available. So for that moment when life makes demands on you, you can make demands on us. Visit us at Spice Isle Imaging, Caranage, St. George's.
Gifts of love with dread, bringing love for you this year. Communion show with
We're bringing you gifts of love with cheer at the communal. This Christmas, we are your Santa. It's all about sharing the warmth of this season with those you love. Get in on this special loan, taking advantage of great interest rates with no principal payments until January 2022. Share the gift of love. Make it a merrier Christmas with the communal. Exciting prizes for members throughout the promotion. For we are your Santa this Christmas. Offer ends January 31st, 2022. Lending terms and conditions apply.
Communion showing that we care.
Have you heard about the new Softweave bathroom tissue with total hygiene? As hygiene and safety have taken center stage, our bathroom tissue is now manufactured with 3 different technologies to offer the best protection for you and your family. UVC light technology for a safe and effective disinfection process, eliminating 99.9% of microorganisms. Also, production at high temperatures, killing all types of germs and bacteria. And it's pH controlled with delicate fibers to prevent irritation for even sensitive skin. Softweave Total Hygiene Bathroom Tissue. Available in supermarkets and shops island-wide. Visit Softweave Caribbean Facebook or Instagram pages for more information. When you need your prescription filled or you require non-prescribed medication, supplements, or all your personal needs, visit Gittins Healthcare at locations on Wall Street, Grandans, Victoria Street, Brandon, and Central Deputy Street, Guelph. Gittins Healthcare aims to provide an exceptional personalized pharmacy experience. Additionally, children under 5 and adults 55 years and over will enjoy 10% discount on purchases of $20 and over on prescription medication. Stop settling for less. Visit Gittins Healthcare, where your health is our priority.
Need a quick, convenient way to pay your bills and avoid lines? Use the online banking feature from Republic Bank, First Caribbean, or Co-op Bank. Contact them today to set up your online banking and enjoy 24-hour convenience to make your bill payments. Stay safe. Grenlec, we are united even when we are apart.
You have been waiting on it all year. Now, it's your chance to make this Christmas better than ever. Get the extra cash you need with a Make This Christmas Better loan from the GUT Credit Union. Get up to $50,000 to celebrate your Christmas and make your holiday dreams come true. Home improvements, new furniture, a vehicle, debt consolidation, or even a vacation. We can help you get there. Yes, you can. Make this Christmas better with the GUT Credit Union. It's where you belong.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines, our first edition for 2022. We're looking at the continuing impact of COVID-19 on our society. The unfortunate news is that schools are closed again except for the exit grades as announced at the start of the program. My co-host this evening is the man himself. Reverend Stevenson Worm has been in ministry for the last 32 years, an author of 10 books and counting, and also we know him on the cricket pitch, not with the bat on the ball, but behind the microphone. He's in studio this evening as our co-host.
Okay. So we want to go back to P.S. Andel, of course, who was addressing the whole idea of technology. Now, how P.S. has COVID really showed up the importance of technology during this very critical period? Can you amplify, please?
Well, in 2020, March 2020, when we were asked to go on the lockdown, everybody put their hands on their head because that presented a challenge for all of us, not only in Grenada, but all over the Caribbean. We were faced with a new challenge, a new thing, and we had to innovate. And what we found was that the technology, the relevant educational technologies were available to support remote learning. And we went speedily ahead aggressively to identify the suitable ones and to procure those. But what we found was that the technology is available, it is readily available, and it can be procured, but the end user, being the students as well as the teachers, were not trained suitably to engage meaningfully with the technology. So we are faced with this challenge, and we found that there are so many processes, educational processes as well as administrative processes, that the technology showed up, but it also showed us new ways to do things that we were doing before. For instance, we were able to do a survey with a Google form. We were able to reach hundreds of teachers as well as parents using Zoom. We are able to have national consultation using Zoom. But we also found there were also other technologies like Microsoft Teams and so forth, which were just as good as Zoom or even better in a number of areas. And it showed that we need to embrace these technologies and incorporate them within our learning environment and teaching and learning environment. But it also showed that despite all of this, the face-to-face interaction is important. And we had to find that balance. And that is the balance that we're seeking to solidify now, that how do we use the technology, but also think about the psychosocial aspect of the child and the socializing nature of education and its value. Pastor Worm, what we found is that we can do a lot with a little. The technology has shown us that now that we are progressing into a next phase of this crisis or this pandemic, it is also saying to us that we have to shift gears and look at different ways to use the technology, not only to facilitate remote learning as we are doing now, but how do we accelerate excellence in teaching and learning? And that is what the technology has shown us, that we can do that. So a teacher in St. Vincent, an excellent teacher in St. Vincent, can interact with students in Grenada and teach the concepts right across the OECS in one sitting, utilizing the technology. Mm-hmm. But not only that, I just want to add this last point, that the parents, what COVID-19 has shown, the importance of parental involvement in the learning of the children, and how that involvement is accelerating learning, how it is improving the child's assimilation of materials, and how it is that this embracing nature, if I should invent a word, to deal with education has shown that we have to not only focus on the child and the teacher, but also the home and the parents as we embrace this holistic approach to education. And the technology can achieve that, but not only the technology, but collaborative effort from all stakeholders as we go forward.
All right, quickly, Mr. Andal, before I get on to Mrs. Finley. In reference to future, would we continue to see this face-to-face educational process, or would we have a bunch of young people who are saying, you know what, we prefer to have this thing continue as it is now? Would that be a challenge? Is this something that you've been hearing? What's the situation?
In everything, you would have people that wanting to hold on to what is existing, and there are those who would like to move on. In everything also, you know that a mixture is sometimes the best. And the challenges of young people saying that I would want to embrace technology-driven education, solely technology-driven, and those who would like an amalgamation mix. As we go along as stakeholders, as educational practitioners, we have to look at the effects of all of these. We have to look at the research and what the research has said, has revealed about this. We are learning as we are going along, and as adults, as administrators, we have a responsibility to guide and to create the enabling environment so that our young people would make the right decision. Some indeed would gravitate towards solely remote, some would say a blend, but we have to create the enabling environment so that the right choice is made based on that by our students as well as the parents.
Okay, let's go across to Mrs. Findlay. Mrs. Findlay, just take us through the process in terms of schools being reopened. This is the early part of the year. The decision to open schools, how is that done? Lead us in this process.
Well, in terms of the reopening of schools, I must say, while the Education Act places the reopening of school in the hands of the Minister of Education, and by extension then, various processes in the planning would be delegated to PS and to me. In the face of this this global pandemic, at the national level, we do take our guidance from the Ministry of Health and the directives of the Cabinet of Grenada. Because as you would see, whatever happens with school doesn't just reside with the Ministry of Education, but there are national implications. So the current situation that we are in, we have reached that point, and we are saying, based on the guidance from Ministry of Health, that at this time, due to not really the increase in cases, but due to the emergence of this new variant that persons are still uncertain about, the Ministry of Health wanted some time to monitor what is happening with that new strain, the Omicron strain, and hence we were guided to have a phased reopening of school. Now, the good thing for us is that this phase is not a new phase. We have come to this point, at least this is the third time that we are coming to this phased reopening of school. And for that reason, we are, as you say, it's almost like a deja vu. We are going through what we have done before, and we are now better positioned. We are able to reassess and actually implement some of the things that we didn't do so well maybe the first and the second time. Now we are positioned to have a better go at it. And I must say we are working principals. The feedback is that they too are more comfortable now. Unlike the other two occasions when we reopened in a phased way, we now have more things at our disposal. Information is power, and that we do have at this time. We have more, as Minister spoke this morning, about vaccines that are available. We know that the wearing of the mask and the sanitizing has to be a priority if we really want to mitigate the effects of the pandemic. So this is where we are with phase one, where we have the exit grades of all levels. We know that, yes, every child, every year is important. Childhood doesn't wait. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we take things in stride based on the scientific data. So we wish that everyone can be back in school as quickly as possible, but the phased approach has proven over time to be the best approach. So here we are with phase one.
Great. And what are some of those frustrations, obviously, that you're meeting along the way in regards to reopening?
Well, I think the challenges that we face is that there are parents who really are challenged when the children are at home. There are children who are in homes that are not with much space, and therefore they have their younger siblings, the ones that are not yet school age. Now they have to compete for that small space in order to do their work. So a quiet space for some children is not possible in the home. Teachers too are seeing it when they go online. They are seeing the challenges of some students. We do have the connectivity issues, some homes not having, the amenities, but still we are saying that for what is happening in Grenada, we are thankful when we look at what is happening in the region, that the decisions we have made has been the best we could have made. And with all that is happening regionally and internationally, Grenada is still doing well, but we want well to mean that every child is doing well, because every child must succeed. That is our mandate, that's our mission. And we are doing the best, forever strategizing to see how we can break back on the learning loss that we are currently experiencing.
And Ms. Finney, you spoke of Minister, and Minister, let me just tell you that the lines are being flooded now with questions directed at the Minister. We have quite a few, and I know that there's some things that we yet to, I want us to look exactly at, but we'll probably do it a little later. But Minister, let me just say what are some of the questions that are coming, and probably you'll write them down and give us answers. One person is saying, Minister, what is the difference between opening to the tourist industry and having people going to work in this pandemic and not sending the children to school? They're exposed to the virus anyway when their parents come home. We have somebody else saying we need to address the unstable internet service if we are serious about using technology. And we have someone else asking, were there any studies conducted to measure whether students experience learning loss? If yes, how many years? And commitment to learning is a key component to ensuring student success. What strategies and techniques are being implemented in addition to the provision to tech schools? And so somebody was commenting on the comment made by P.S. Andel, and they wanted to follow up P.S. Andel on how are you measuring student effort. So quite some questions coming in. I know it's quite a mouthful, but I could repeat them as we go along. Minister, I have a question for you. How has MSTAR performed? Are teachers using it, or they've really gone to Zoom or other platforms?
So when we launched MSTARS, you would remember, it was one of our very first responses to the COVID-19 shutdown. The schools were asked to close immediately, and we needed to find ways to engage students at home. As a matter of fact, we said to persons then, whatever works for you best, use it, WhatsApp, whatever, we just have to go home. Now, MSTAR was in the process of development at the time, and we took a policy decision that because we needed to go with something at the time to make students, or to give students that opportunity, teachers the opportunity to be able to connect, that we were going to launch MSTAR at the phase that it was at. Teachers have been encouraged since then to use the platform, students to use the platform. I can testify of my son using it to prepare for the last CSEC exams. However, we have not been deliberate in saying to teachers, you must use this particular platform. Reason being, we are in the midst of a crisis. Whatever works best, we have been encouraging teachers to use, whatever they are most familiar with. So you have been working with Edmodo all your years and children are comfortable. You don't need to make a 100% shift at this stage. And so there are teachers, there are students using the platform, but of course we have not reached that stage where we have a single platform that everybody must use. So that is the situation with MSTAR. The issue of the tourism sector and the comparison, I think that person may have interpreted what we said to mean that we are not reopening school in full. I don't think we addressed it here, but this morning in my opening of school address, I did say that this week is going to be phase 1. Next week, Monday, based on the clearance that we have gotten so far, we are going to be opening school in full, understanding that we need to create that balance. So for that person who is concerned that students are not going out, I've been saying forever, we need to have students face-to-face in school. the unstable internet, and that can be a number of different reasons. We do have the same problem at our homes. The service provider for internet in school would be Digicel. We have made significant strides. As a matter of fact, Grenada would be leading, I believe, at this stage with regards to online examination, meaning that the students are using the internet service at school to do their regional examinations. And so whenever there's a problem at a particular school, the service provider, which is Digicel, is engaged. And I know, using the CSEC examination as an example, we were able to identify all the challenges and have them rectify those challenges. And all of the schools were able to do their online examinations. As it relates to an entire school being engaged online, Digicel has been working with the schools where there are challenges. Of course, you know, in some cases it would be access points, and those are easily corrected. Where there are other issues, they continue to work on those. Internet service at home, of course, I'm not in a position to comment on that, but we all know the problems with stability in internet services locally. Students, and I did make that, the study as it relates to loss. We are using currently international statistics, international evidence. We have not yet done a local study to the extent that we can make reference to local statistics. Of course, we are going to be continuing gathering of data. We have been doing this since the start of the pandemic, and we are going to continue to collect data. At some point, we would be able to make those specific pronouncements as it relates to our local situation. And of course, the question regarding the strategies, a number of them have been outlined since the start of this program. What I want to say at this point, though, re-strategies, is that I really want to commend our principals and teachers for those local strategies that they have been implementing. When I say local strategies, the Ministry of Education provide a general global plan. And the Ministry of Education says, be guided by this. And I'll use one example of a visit to one of the schools on the West. I was amazed at the principal in a room monitoring every class that was going on online, central monitoring. Now, that was a system that school in particular developed. St. John's Christian Secondary School. I was actually blown away by that creativity. So, of course, there are a number of strategies centrally, and decentralizing, we encourage development and creativity there. I think I addressed the questions, Odette.
Thank you so much, Minister, for addressing those questions, and you have such a sharp brain. No wonder you're the Minister of Education. One of the things we realize that time is creeping in on us, and we want to hear from our viewers and listeners, and we'll open the phone lines shortly. But on Beyond the Headlines, we do just that. We go beyond the headlines. We try to ensure that we don't look at the issues locally and in a silo. So what we'll do at this time, we would look at the U.S. and see what's happening regarding the opening of schools so that people get a feel for what's happening beyond our shoes. So let's look at that. We'll come back for a couple more questions. Pastor Wom has some issues that he wants to get addressed, and then we'll open the phone lines. 435-2041 is for Classic, 440-1252 is for Beyond the Headlines. It'll be on the screen. So let's look at that and come back.
For the first week of January, more than 2,000 schools were prepared to close for at least one day due to COVID-19 concerns. There are 21 states with at least one school district closing right now or doing remote learning. Most of them are here in the Northeast. Some schools might be closed for a day, others for the entire week, but all of the schools on this map are impacted by a back-to-school disruption. You can see that most of those, like I said, are in the Northeast and in the Midwest, which have been hardest hit by Omicron. But the simple fact is this: we don't know where this virus is going. As Paul mentioned, a lot of the largest school districts in the nation are choosing rapid test students as they head back. That includes Chicago and Washington, D.C. LA schools are not requiring a negative test to return, but they will be testing random groups of students throughout the week to determine how many cases there are in the school population.
So, Minister, this is not heartening, but to you, you might say, well, this is heartening because it's not different from what we're doing in Grenada. 2,000 schools are prepared to close for at least one day or for this week, and there are 21 states where there's back-to-school disruptions. Minister?
Of course, throughout the world, Odette, this is, it's a challenge. And when you look at the data, when you look at statistics, when you look at what is happening around the world, I still believe there's so much, Pastor Wom, to give God thanks for and to be grateful as it relates to our situation. The video made reference to testing. And that's one of the decisions taken in Cabinet this morning, that we will be communicating with schools during this week. And it's going to be the first time that we are going to be doing some in-school testing, random testing throughout the system, of course, to monitor the situation. Let me say this, Odette, that one of the things that we may not have said publicly before is that we have had COVID cases in schools before. The protocols are very simple. It is like everywhere else. If you have a case in GBN, what do you do? And so what we are advising is that we follow the protocols. And if perchance someone contracts COVID-19, that we continue to follow the established protocols. But let me make the additional point, not just testing, not just following the basic protocols and applying all of those mitigation strategies, but very important, I want to single out the subject of vaccination. Various persons have various views on vaccination. But our views are all important and we treasure our views. But what is important to note is what the science has been showing us. The facts are there. We see that the vaccination, it's reducing the number of hospitalization. So if you look at the persons who are hospitalized as a result of COVID-19, you would notice very small numbers. Very small numbers, less than 10% in some cases, are persons who are COVID positive. When you look, for example, at the death, and you check to see the numbers of persons who died, who were vaccinated and not vaccinated, again, the trend is the same. Very high numbers unvaccinated, very low numbers vaccinated. And so, we have to ensure that we use the science to inform decision-making. The person who becomes very sick, again, the science is showing a connectivity between persons who are vaccinated and persons who are not vaccinated. And so I want to encourage our teachers, encourage our parents to use this added strategy to ensure that we curb the spread of COVID-19 in our schools. The government of Grenada has not made this mandatory for school teachers or for students. However, I'm appealing to all concerned that we do have vaccination as a strategy, as a tool to ensure that we keep teachers and students safe as we reopen schools.
So, Minister, just before I cross to my co-host, Reverend Stevenson Boom, just reiterate for us that you said as of next week, schools will be reopened. And can you remind people what age group is allowed for vaccination among children, like say, or students? Could you just remind us on those 2 points, please?
Right, so students would be students who are 12 and over. That's the established locally. We also have vaccines available for teachers, so students and teachers. And I want to make this point, in some countries, governments are being asked to prioritize teachers as a category to receive vaccination. In our case, we don't have that problem. We do have sufficient vaccines for all the teachers and all the students who would want to be vaccinated, right? This week, we have the exit.
This can help, and she said in her message this morning, she spoke about the churches. You wear your ministerial hat, and how have churches been trying to assist in all of this?
It's always challenging, of course, and even as a minister of the gospel, you've got to be very cautious about things. You know, there are people who have particular convictions about vaccinations, convictions about non-vaccination, so to speak. And you don't want to mandate individuals because everybody's got their own particular rights. So it's something that you've got to weigh and weigh very smartly, weigh very carefully. You've got to be very judicious, very careful about it. The important thing, however, is to challenge people about the health and the maintenance of the health, and not only being vaccinated, because that's just one aspect of it, but the overall attention that you pay to health matters. And I think that's where it's important also for the Ministry of Health to jump in. I think they've done a pretty decent job, but I would like to hear even more about the importance of your dieting, the importance of resting, the importance of sleep, the importance of being very meticulous about your overall health situation. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very crucial to the stemming of the pandemic in the region and of course here in Grenada. And
before we close, I want to ask you about Sunday schools. Minister, we noticed some buffering on your line. There was some static, so we crossed back to studio until we got that rectified. You want to continue the point, Minister? You're saying that schools will be reopened next week and then you are looking at vaccination.
Well, of course, and it gives me that opportunity to emphasize the point that we do believe all of the basic protocols are going to help. And if we add to that vaccination of students and teachers, that is also going to help, because we cannot continue the way that we are going. We cannot continue to have our students at home. And so we need to ensure that we provide the opportunity for face-to-face learning. But I want to just zero in on the point that you raised with Pastor Worm, as it relates to the churches playing a critical role at this time. Because when we look at loss, we ought not to look at it just from an academic perspective. Our students are losing an opportunity to learn morals and values, spiritual values. Let us be real, let us be honest. There are some lessons they will never learn at home. And so the question is, if they have not been in school, if they are not in school, where are they learning those values? And so I appeal to the churches to ensure that you incorporate into all of your Sunday school lessons and other lessons to encourage and to support and to help these students who are missing out in school. But more importantly, the students who don't come to church, how can the church play a role in reaching these students to provide these support? Let us be mindful. The students now will be the adults very soon. What we fail to give them now, they will not have down the road. And our country is going to pay a terrible price if we don't address it right now. So, Pastor Worm, I appeal to the church for additional help.
Absolutely, and be assured that we will give that additional help, because we play an absolutely integral role in the development of society as a whole. And I hope people understand the importance of the church, you know. And it is about, of course, impacting people holistically, not just spiritually. And I know that spiritually has to be that top emphasis. But I believe that God is interested in the whole man, not just partial man, the whole man. And I certainly do agree with you. Well, we're going to give listeners and viewers an opportunity to call. You probably want to shoot a question or two to the representatives here at the well, of course, we are at the studio here and they're online. So if you want to just give a call, make a question or two, you can certainly do that. 440-1252 is the number you obviously would want to call. You can do so now. We'll take your call. Do we have a first caller? Okay,
apparently not. So what we'll do is we'll take a commercial break and we'll be right back. This is Beyond the Headlines on GBN TV and all of our social media platforms, including Classic Radio. Wherever you are this evening, we're so happy to have you. We'll be entertaining viewer input after the commercial break.
known fact, there is only one place in Grenada that you can get an MRI scan done. That place is Spice Isle Imaging Center. Yes, Grenada, that's the truth. Other centers could offer you other scans, but Spice Isle Imaging provides an authentic MRI scan. Here's another little known fact. Spice Isle Imaging has 3 centers. We operate at Grenville, the Carnage, and at the Ocean House, Grand Anse. We provide the widest range of laboratory tests and services. CT scans, x-rays, mammograms, ultrasounds, and a host of other services. We are fully staffed by a team of family doctors and specialists. Call us today at 444-7679 or 406-1500 or visit any of our 3 locations. Spice Isle Imaging, from seeing the doctor to getting lab tests, scans, and pharmacy services. We are here to take care of you.
Just a reminder, the global pandemic is not over. Office Pros and markers are still here to protect you. Available are several versions of touchless hand sanitizer and hand soap dispensers, dispenser stands, paper towel and toilet paper dispensers, and thermometers. Also available, hand sanitizing gel, sanitizing solution, hand soap, Lysol products, face masks, and gloves, all offered at the best price on the market and backed by a full warranty and protection plan with free installation. We are located on the Woodlands Main Road. Call Office Pros on 444-2393 or markers on 439-2393. You can also visit the Facebook page for more information. And never forget to remember, I, Mr. Markers, would never forsake you. Believe that.
Total is one of the world's largest oil companies with a top quality line of lubricants. Total Lubricants has a full product line from passenger cars, motorcycle, heavy industrial equipment, mining, trucking, agriculture, and manufacturing machines and vehicles. Total Lubricants, winning championships in motorsports, including Formula One and World Rally Championships. Total Lubricants are available at all Rubis service stations, leading automotive shops, and distributed by Huggins.
When a loved one passes on, we all need the comfort, support, and guidance of a trusted friend. You can rely on LaCour Brothers Funeral Home. We provide a personalized professional service that exceeds all expectations. Our dedicated staff responds to your every need with the greatest detail, ensuring affordability with a variety of options. Our upgraded state-of-the-art facilities, spacious air-conditioned chapel with live internet streaming, a modern, environmentally safe crematorium, the only of its kind on island, private viewing spaces, large on-site repast center, a modern transportation fleet. Join our burial society today and make personalized arrangements for that final moment as you prepare to enter your loved one into eternal rest. Visit or call LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and select a package that brings added comfort to the entire family. LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and Burial Society, continuing a tradition of excellence.
Are you looking for quality herbs and herbal supplements, or are you thinking about having a complete body cleanse to jumpstart your health? Then no need to look further. Visit Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. We carry a wide range of herbal products for kidney and gallstone cleansing, male sexual enhancement formulas, asthma and sinusitis, gas and bloating, acid reflux, constipation, arthritis, imbalanced hormones, female health issues, liver cleansing, weight loss, and so much more. Also available, colonic irrigation, holistic health consultations, essential oils, and diffusers. Look out for our online natural health store coming soon. Call 231-6642 418-7115 or 449-7753 to find out about our delivery options or to book an appointment. Visit us at Belmont St. George's, close to the Foliage, Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic. Detox your way to health.
Welcome back to our program. Just to remind you, of course, if you wish to call in, you can call 440-1252. I think we've got our first call on the line. Caller, good evening.
Good afternoon, good night, Mr. Warm, and to all the other participants there, and to say I wish you all the best for the new year, every one of you all. And to say, first of all, that I think the teachers, the ministry, and parents have been doing a wonderful job to keep the children occupied and to keep the children in school with that pandemic. It is not an easy situation. I can testify that teachers are definitely working to keep the children in school. The ministry have done a wonderful job, and the teachers are doing a wonderful job. Most teachers are acting as the parent of children, and I can tell you it's not an easy job to keep these children in school. And yes, the pandemic is here. We have to live with it. It is a technical job to keep the children, and a lot is being done. A lot is taken from the teachers, and the ministry have done a wonderful job. So hats up to all, and let us see how well we can keep it up. But again, a lot of people are not adhering to the rules and regulations, and that is making life hard for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. It really is nice to hear the caller expressing gratitude and congratulations, of course, to the Ministry of Education for doing a fantastic job. So we await callers. If you wish to call in, don't forget it's 440-1252. And let's just get a comment from you, Mrs. Finley. The importance of parents and the community in helping in this whole challenge that we have here in Grenada, and I dare say the world challenge. How important is this to have the community combining with parental efforts, of course, to ensure that our students do very well?
Well, pardon me for reiterating what I said earlier on. It takes a village to raise a child. So to have a well-rounded citizen, we require the input of all stakeholders. And students, even when school is at its best, is only for a few hours every day, let's say maybe 5 hours. And we think of a 24-hour day and maybe take out 8 hours for sleeping. So we have those other hours. We take out 8 from 24. Okay, we have 16 hours, so about 11 hours when a child is immersed in the community away from the school. So without the support of the parents in the home and the persons in the community, the persons in the church, the persons just about in society, school on its own would be failing the child. So that sort of what you would call that situation of the village has to remain central to the raising of every child to be that well-rounded citizen. What happens on the field of play? Now, COVID has put a damper on what can happen on the field, the sports, the cultural activities. these are indispensable to creating well-rounded citizens. So it's everyone doing their bit, parents, and I must say, throughout the COVID, with the use of technology, the Zoom, we have seen parents making use of the different programs that we have been partnering to disseminate. On Sundays, we have had some IT programs for parents. The Early Childhood Division have been having many programs to target parents of the very young, because we do know that while, yes, children are maybe born in the technological age and learning quickly, still the very young ones, the 3+, the 4+, children at the preschool level, are challenged quite a bit and do require the support of parents to make learning at home meaningful for them. And I must say, we really have to take our hats off to that group of parents who have been showing to a lot of creativity in helping these young ones navigate and make the best of what is provided through the preschool teachers. So those teachers at that level, the first 7 years of a child's life is that very, very critical period for them. And the support for that group and the support provided by the parents of that group, the children of that group, is very critical as to how children can navigate and come out in a place where we can all look back and be pleased about. So that's where it is in terms of community.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Finlay. And like we say, the comments have been coming in on social media, and we're also inviting calls. We have one person here who is in another Caribbean island saying we have 21 confirmed, that's actually in Montserrat, we have 21 confirmed cases after the festivals over the Christmas holidays. We are going into curfew tomorrow. There is a surge where people came into the island and broke quarantine rules, hence the upsurge. And then the person said, I just got another message that I need to verify because now they're saying it's 30. Minister, Montserrat seems to be going back into curfew. You had a cabinet meeting this morning. You want to share any little secrets with us? Any possibilities of curfew or lockdown or no movement weekends? Don't get fired.
And I suspect from the way that you asked the question, you don't really expect me to share a cabinet secret. I just want to, I don't think persons at all should be concerned at this stage as it relates to a curfew. This is not something that is being discussed at this time. Cabinet is more concerned about people taking personal responsibility for the actions. Whether you're a parent, you're a teacher, you're a student, whoever you are, we should not continue, Odette, on a trend of enjoying ourselves, exposing ourselves, being irresponsible, and then going on a lockdown. It just appears that this is what we expect in terms of the trend. And we have to get out of that. We have to learn to live with COVID, but we have to learn to live responsibly with COVID. So we must follow the protocols. I repeat again, we must make use of the available vaccinations, the options that are available to us, and we must continue life as close to normal as possible. And so let us not continue to live irresponsibly and then expect a curfew and a lockdown. For how long could we go on like this? I just encourage us, let us be mature and responsible in our actions.
Thank you, Minister. I think we've got a call on the line. Caller, you there? Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Good evening, both.
Thanks for holding.
Thanks. Good evening to the guests and the hosts. We're looking here, I beg your humble indulgences if the questions that I shall ask here have been touched on, because I had to move away from the telephone from the radio for a while. But here we are. What I learned, I heard, no quote-unquote statistics were given on the quote-unquote learning loss experienced through the circumstances of the COVID. Questions, therefore. Are there any statistics? Can they be shared? If you do not, can you tell us why? If you do not have, can you tell us why? And can you also tell us how the policy decisions for correcting the deficiencies will be done or implemented without statistics? Thank you very much.
Yes, so caller asking about empiricism and statistics. Any one of our panelists would
I
delve into
suspect,
that?
Pastor Worm, that the caller did miss that part where I said that the Ministry of Education has been collecting data. We could have said to persons on the last occasion when we reopened school, we could have said how many students were accessing online, how many students were not accessing online classes. We could have said how many students are comfortable, 80% and over, in terms of access and participation, because access is one, participation is another. So we have been collecting data. In terms of making a public pronouncement on the data that we have collected, we are still in the stage of analyzing. What we have collected, what we have seen thus far, is sufficient, even before COVID, sufficient to say that we do have a significant challenge that we must address. We do have a learning loss. I mean, it would be a miracle, actually, if after all these months out of school, so you're starting from the point of knowing that you do have a learning loss, based on the number of hours that you've lost, based on the amount of makeup time that you've been able, because remember, you had COVID-19 that you were dealing with, but you also had industrial actions that would have led to loss of contact time. So it is not an issue of if we have a learning loss. It is the case for every country internationally. What we are doing at this time is still analyzing some of the data coming from the schools, and to do that assessment that we are now able to give some specifics, which we are not willing to share at this stage publicly. But we are going to be providing the public with more details as it relates to the data that we have been collecting.
Thank you very much, Minister. Just to remind you,
policy decision, just to say we have spoken extensively on policy decisions and actions. I guess the caller did miss that part of it.
Okay, well, I hope that things have cleared up quite significantly for him. So just to remind callers, 440-1252 if you wish to call, but we do have a call on the line. Caller, go right ahead, would you?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, to the host and to the panelists. I heard Ms. Kerr was mentioning to you, Reverend Worm, about the role of the churches, a religion, but she failed to mention the role of parents, which I think is the most important form of socialization. The media, the GBN have a role to play as well, and social media. So I wouldn't blame the churches alone for the lack of moral values, norms, and beliefs in the development of our children. I think the family have the most important role to play, followed by the churches, the school, and the media. I also heard she mention the age group for the vaccine with the kids. She said from 12, but she didn't say which is the vaccine that is required for the kids. And I would like to know, there was news going around that Cabinet and the Ministry of Health was the one that's going to decide during the course of the week, of this week, that they're going to be school. They're going to decide whether they're going to be school Monday, but I hear now saying that they're going to be school on Monday. So I would like to know if they're not monitoring what is happening, because now we have new confirmed cases of 32, active cases of 443, and no recovery, one new recovery. So I would like to get more information on those three issues I mentioned here. Thank you.
All right. Well, of course, it will be responded to, but to be fair to the minister, I think that she really talked quite a lot about the parents playing pivotal roles. So if you had listened very carefully, I think we got to be fair she really emphasized how important it is for parents to come on board and do as much as they can, and of course the church by extension. Okay, so there are a few comments, questions. Who would take the shot at it? Minister or CEO or permanent secretary? Who would?
Pastor Wom, I want to just extend on the reference that you just made in terms of the church and parents and the media and all of that. I want it to be very clear. At no point did I see any sector of society is to be blamed. I won't even go there. We would be wasting time talking about who's to be blamed for what is happening. What is critical is who can help, and that is what I spoke to. Who can help? I said the reality of the situation, if we're sitting and waiting on every home to help, we would be in serious problems. And so the important thing now is not who caused it, but who can help to find a solution to the problem. As it relates to the announcement, I guess the caller may have missed that part of it. There was a decision made for the opening of school for exit grades today, Monday, and that decision includes the reopening of school to all other grades and forms in the following Monday. I also made the point on the following Monday. I also made the point that in reopening schools, partially or totally, we cannot just look at numbers of COVID-19 cases. We have to now shift gears into creating a balance between education and safety. The Ministry of Health is quite comfortable that with the management of the current COVID-19 cases, that we can reopen schools fully. The Ministry of Health has given their support to the full reopening of schools. And of course, every school has been advised and have been practicing what do you do if perchance there is a positive case in a school, right? So we continue on that trend.
Minister,
and the Pfizer vaccine is what we offer to students.
Can I just interject here, Minister, because we have a call and sometimes people are calling on cell phones and their credit and so. So can we just take the call and then?
Sure.
All right. So caller, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to find out that I understand the minister said that school will be open on Monday, well, fully. It will be open fully on Monday. I was listening to the statement she was making, but I know concerning the cases will keep rising. So I was wondering concerning the protocol, the 6 feet distance, because sometimes we have crowded schools, very crowded. So I want to know, well, as she said, everyone will be there, but what about the 6 feet distance and so on? So I am concerned about that. So I want to really let you enlighten me on that part, because I find it's a risk. I mean, it's a big risk. That's my contribution.
And I do want to quote from a student from St. Mark's that I've been quoting for the last couple months. It is a risk, but it is a risk that is worth taking. I really need to find the name of that student. I've been using his quotation for quite a long time. We are saying that we do understand that there is a risk in opening schools. At the same time, we are saying that there's a bigger risk as it relates to the learning loss that students are suffering at this time. The immediate implications of that in terms of the mental health of students, the psychosocial issues that they are affected by, that's immediate, but also long-term. And the long-term is not just about the individuals. The long-term also has serious implications. The economies of nations are being studied in that regard. So there is a big price that we are paying right now and will continue to pay. But there's always a caveat, Odette, that Pastor Wom. We have always said, with the reopening of schools, there will be some parents who might be extremely concerned. You may have a child with an underlying condition, and you may not want to send that child. Probably for the first few weeks, you may feel that that child will be too exposed, too much at risk, maybe traumatized about going back. And we have always added that if a parent is terribly concerned about having their child return, speak to the counselor, speak with the principal of the school. You don't have to send that child immediately. We are encouraging them to return, but we do make those small accommodations for those parents who are within that category, extremely concerned and do not want to have their children go back at this time.
Right, thank you so very much, Minister there. And I think we're sort of running out of time now. We don't have much time again, but we'd like to hear from you, Mr. Andel, Kevin Andel, of course. Can you just give us some perspective as we begin to close up this program? Any particular thing you'd want to advise on, or you'd want to declare, as the case may be? This is your turn, would you?
I just wanted to add, and it's the technology. I'm speaking and I'm muted. So it's all about learning. It's all about learning. And I just want us to learn from this. I want us to take lessons from all of this. In every challenge, in every tough time, there are opportunities that we can gravitate towards and we can learn from. And I want us to learn from this, that most importantly, I'm a father of two small children. So I do feel the brunt of this pandemic in regards to the education of my children. And I just want us to learn that we're not alone. We have to develop networks. We have to develop support systems so that we can share the burden of this. There are a lot of psychological effects, and some of us definitely would have to find ways to deal with the associated stress and to find outlets so that we really don't succumb to any form of mental degradation in the process. I just want to say that let us hold on to our spirituality where it exists. Let us develop the system of family and the closeness of family and support mechanism. But most importantly, let us look at balance. How do we balance between the education of our children and the health and well-being and our own psychological and mental wellness? Not only that, in the process of also working and trying to support our families in the process, there are so many things that confronts us, and it is important that we find a center, some spot that we can definitely sit back, reflect, and find some form of, I should put it, solidness, I should emphasize as we go forward. So my final word is, let us together try to battle this, but learn from the lessons that we're going to learn in this process. And that is my final word in this.
Good, and absolutely well said. I'm going to go across now to Mrs. Findlay. What I can say, though, is that I'm very impressed with the fact that over the years we've had guidance counselors in our schools across the land. I think that was one of the greatest or best decisions that the Ministry of Education has made, to have these very important people giving guidance and counsel to many of our students. Would this increase? Is it something that you'll be looking at much deeper? As you make your final comments, would you also want to include that in terms of the importance of these individuals in your schools?
Yes, Pastor Worm, guidance counseling, a very critical element. Minister spoke to the psychosocial side of students, the development of students. And yes, counselors have been, at the secondary level, we have counselors that are specific to the schools, and for the primary level, we have counselors serving clusters of schools. As with everything, there comes a time when you have to take stock, you have to assess if you want to build and enhance, you do have to do some evaluation. And right now, we are at an evaluative stage, what our counseling, our guidance and counseling services. So yes, we are now collecting the data, analyzing the data to determine the direction that we must go, where we need to enhance, where it's good enough. So we are looking at the sufficiency of what we are doing. But I must say, throughout the past 2 years, from March 2020, with the advent of COVID, the data is there to show the number of sessions, counseling sessions that the guidance counselors have been providing, the number of students who have been reaching out. Even when we had the most serious part of the lockdown, we had counselor on call. And we also got high commendation regionally for that and internationally for those programs. So we are in a good place again there, because as a third world country, we have been recognized for the strides that we have been making in the area of guidance counseling. And that's the way we are going to be going. So soon you'll be hearing of the plans we have for enhancing that sector. But again, it must be done in a strategic way, analyzing the data that is before us. But that's the point at which we are now.
Thank you so very much, Mrs. Findlay. And I'm sure you're not aware of this, Odette, that Mrs. Findlay was one of the most outstanding female lawn tennis players in Grenada. You may not be aware. Are you?
I am not aware. I'm thinking, no, we must have a sporting program and bring Ray Robertson here and have a conversation. And can we get some photographs?
I don't know what her ranking was, whether she did get up to number 1 or number 2, but she was quite a prolific lawn tennis player.
You see the value. You see the value that he's brought to the program, Ms. Findlay. Now we need some photographs for evidence, and we will be having a sporting program during the year, and you will be the chief panelist, right?
Ms. Campbell, what I think he's talking about, maybe trying to conjure up the idea of a racket, so I don't know if he should be going there,
He's good at that. As we close this evening on such a light note, Minister, we're only giving you 15 seconds. We know you'll take 30 seconds, so we're giving you 15.
Thank you, Odette. And I'll say thank you. Thank you to our principals, our teachers, all of our stakeholders, education officials. I mean, the important role that they have been playing in all of the achievements that we have had, the successes. The international data is very clear, and you can see the connection to the local situation. Spread of COVID-19 is very low, established evidence very low in schools. The chances of students spreading and contracting is also extremely low. The statistics, the data is there to prove that. World Health Organization, UNICEF, UNESCO. Vaccination, I encourage our teachers and students to get vaccinated as they attempt to protect themselves. The data, the statistics is also clear. You look at the 200 deaths we've had, fully vaccinated, of those 200, 3.0%. Partially vaccinated of the 200 person, 2.0%. Unvaccinated of the 200, 95% deaths. Odette, I just want to wish all of our stakeholders all the best for a very successful term. We've done it before by God's grace. I am very confident we are going to do it again. God bless us all.
Confident that we'll do it again. God bless us all. And our closing wrap this evening from our co-host, who will be host from next week, Reverend Stevenson Worm.
We really want to thank so much our panelists from the Ministry of Education for coming on board, and they enlightened us tremendously, and thank them for their time and their effort. And we want to appeal to people out there, those of you wherever you are, whether you're here locally, regionally, or extra regionally, do your best to ensure that you keep yourself safe and of course your children safe as we go ahead, and as we try our best to ensure that the educational process and system remains valuably intact. It was an absolute pleasure being here, co-hosting the program, and we want to say, of course, thanks to Odette, a pretty face. And until next time, of course, have a very good night, and not only that, please enjoy the rest of your year.
But just before I let you off the hook, you want to tease that program you're going to have with Michael Holding in the coming weeks?
Well, we're going to give it a little bit of a secret, but we're going to have a very important, interesting program. We're going to be talking about West Indies cricket, and we're going to have some key individuals who are going to be online with us talking about West Indies cricket. And of course, we do have a very important test match coming up here in March, which is just a couple of months from here. So we're looking forward to that and much more. You're going to hear much more about that coming up.
Indeed, that's something to look forward to. I'm Odette Campbell. So long for now. We'll see you again another time. Pastor Worm will be in the seat. I'm going to be taking a little break. So long, Grenada. Thanks for tuning in as always. And Minister, CEO, and PS, thanks again for enlightening us this evening. And the good news is that schools will open next week. I no longer have school-age children, but I have employees here, co-workers. I have grown attached to their children, and it just has been burning me that they've been at home for so long. So thanks again for the good news this evening. So long, Grenada. We'll see you again on another program.